Hey, what is going on guys? It is ToxAura here. Welcome back to another Guesty video. In this video, I'm going to be ranking every single Guesty limited item. There are exactly 37 limiteds here. Before I get into the rankings, however, I would like to just mention this is my personal opinion and to please not get offended by any of these rankings. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the ranking. Starting off with Royal 2. As you guys can see, Royal 2 is Royal's upgraded brother. It has a nice golden theme. I haven't actually owned the knife and I haven't seen it inside of game, so for that reason I'm going to have to give it a B tier. It's definitely not the worst, but I haven't really had much experience with it. Next up is Holy Knight, and this skin always looks a tiny bit weird. I believe it's meant to be inspired by some sort of Christmas theme, but I was never really a huge fan of Holy Knight, so for that reason I'm going to put it into C tier. Next up is Tanky. Now Tanky gets a lot of hate from the community, I'm not sure why. I believe Tanky is a really good limited. Yeah, Tanky's hate is totally undeserved. I'm going to be putting Tanky up into A tier. I like the whole military theme, and how to get Tanky was also very interesting. Next up we have Novicia, previously one of my favorite godlies. As you guys can see, she rocks a purple and black theme. Novicia is going to be joining Tanky up in A tier. I do really think that Novicia is a really good godly. Next up we have Valentine's Jixia. This skin was really cool. However, I do remember the owners not being the friendliest. If you would try to offer for them, it would either be not for trade or they'll just be pretty rude to you. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting Valentine's Jixia into B tier. It would be higher up the list if it was easier to get your hands on, but yeah, this skin I rarely ever see. Next up is Aquarius. Now inside of my Guess the Leak videos, I said how much I liked this skin. However, paired against many of the godlies here, I feel like it will be injustice to put it anywhere higher than B tier, so that's where I'm gonna put it. Next up we have the Perisher knife. Now Perisher is once again a really scarce godly. Not many people own this at all. Perisher is actually really clean and I do really like it. I'm not the biggest fan of red, but I do think that Perisher pulls it off marvelously, so Perisher is actually going to be the first S tier rank. Next up we have Gambit. I would put it in S tier, but I'm gonna have to put it in A tier. I do think Perisher is just better than Gambit, and if Gambit wasn't a tester knife, I do think it would have been much lower on the list. Next up we have Special Blue Ant. I was going to put that into S tier. Blue Ant is an amazing YouTuber. Hopefully you guys are all subscribed to him. And then we just put his normal variant next to him, as both of the skins are just chef's kiss. They are amazing skins. He's an amazing guy, amazing YouTuber. So I feel like it would be a crime to put him anywhere lower than S tier. Next up we have Monster Chopper, and I really do like Monster Chopper. A lot of people say that this knife is ugly. I beg to differ. I think Monster Chopper is an easy A tier. It sort of reminds me of thorns of a plant, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is an easy A tier for me. Next up we have Swarmed. I actually do own Swarmed, so I may be a little bit biased here. However, I do think Swarmed is it's somewhere between an A and a B tier. I'm just going to put Swarmed into the B tier. Now compared to the A tier godlies, I do think that Swarmed deserves the B tier. I really do like the bees, and Swarmed is just a really nice cute bee. I'm afraid I can't put it any higher than B tier. Next up we have Specimen. This skin was the hype when it released. I remember owning it and being the MVP. Specimen is going to go into the S tier. Once again, I'm not a huge fan of green. Green is probably one of my least favorite colors. However, Specimen just pulls it off brilliantly, and the lore behind Specimen actually makes sense. I feel like it would be an injustice putting it any lower. Next up we have Nighttime, and when I think of Nighttime, I can only think of Guesty scammers, which are literally the only people that I associate with the skin, so this is going to be the first F tier skin. Next up we have the OG Royal. This is an instant S tier. Royal once again got a lot of smack from the community, mainly because every single month a brand new copy would appear, but now that Royal 2 is coming around, Royal is sort of regaining its ground and is becoming a really good godly. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, be sure to smash the subscribe button. I really do want to reach 2k pretty soon. Anyways, now we have Hack in a Box. I remember owning 2 Hack in a Boxes when it was a pretty bad godly. Now Hack in a Box is somewhat good. However, design wise, I'm not a huge fan. I do like how it has a domino crown, and I do think the animation is just a tiny bit goofy. So Hack in a Box is actually going to be the second skin instead of the F tier. Next up we have Nap Time. Nap Time is a really good godly. It's plain, it's simple. I think that the color scheme is good for its intended intended purpose as it was a Christmas limited. That being said, I do believe there are many other better godlies, so nap time, this is going to be so controversial. I'm going to be putting nap time into the C tier rank. Next up, we have New Year's Hope. There are actually only 2 New Year hopes inside of the game, and I own one of them. Once again, green is not one of my favorite colors. However, New Year's Hope pulls it off really well, and because of how scarce the knife is, I'm going to be putting it into the B tier. Definitely not the best knife godly by far, but I do appreciate it. Next up, you have Broken Hearts. I've never actually been a fan of Broken Hearts, and the owners of the skin have been really stingy about trading it. To me, it just looks like a Walmart version of Novicia and Spesnim. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Broken Hearts. That's a C tier for me. Next up, you have Confetti Cocoa. It is a Cocoa reskin. I do like hot chocolate, however I do believe I like cocoa more than I like confetti cocoa, so I'm going to be putting confetti cocoa into B tier. Next up, we have Frontiersman. Frontiersman is another military style godly. If you guys know me, you guys know that I love my history, I love the military, so pretty much anything military rated is going to get a high rating from me. Frontiersman gets a lot of slack from a lot of Guesty players, but I do think that it deserves being inside of S tier. Now we have the brand new godly Octopia. I haven't seen this inside of the game, but judging from this screenshot, it's some sort of octopus skin. Also judging from the name, purple is my favorite color. However, I can't put it that high as I've never seen it inside of Guesty before. Literally all of the other godlies I've seen apart from Octopia, so for that reason, despite it being purple, I'm going to have to put it into the C tier. Next up, we have Sugar Plum, aka the Diabetic Angel. Sugar Plum is a pretty good skin. I remember somebody getting Gambit for Sugar Plum, which I think is absolutely insane. However, that being said, Sugar Plum is a nice skin. It's very simple. It has a nice angelic theme, but I haven't really been a big fan of it. However, I can definitely see the appeal. Sugar Plum is going to be going into the B tier. Next up, we have Lady Scarlet. Once again, I have not seen this inside of an actual game. This skin reminds me of the country Spain. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because of the brand new Pokemon games coming out. Anyways, I can't really put it that high. I'm gonna put it into C tier. However, Lady Scarlet and Octopia are subject to change once I've seen them inside of game. Next up is Cocoa. I really do like hot chocolate. I do think Cocoa is a nice derpy skin. I remember Cocoa being the rarest skin and the owner just not trading it, so now he decided to add like 5 more copies into the game. That was hilarious. However, if I put Confetti Cocoa into the B tier, I think it's only right to put Cocoa into the A tier. Now we're on to the final 12 godlies. Let's kick it off with Last Stand Papa. Now if you guys don't remember, I actually remember unboxing Last Stand Papa. What you had to do is you had to get a rolling pin on the limited time Halloween map. I believe it's like a 1 in 1,000 something chance. The odds were insane, but I grinded like 218 rounds and I actually got it. This skin has many fond memories with me. I do think people do not give this skin enough credit whatsoever, so I'm going to be putting Last Stand Papa into the S tier. I know a lot of people are not going to like that, but I do generally really like the skin. Next up is Past Soldier. Once again, another military skin. However, I rarely see the skin inside of game. I don't think it's that popular among the community, so for that reason I'm going to be putting it into the B tier. Next up, we have Sinister S. This is pretty much the Sinister godly put into a knife. Sinister S is a really nice colorway, orange and white. I'm going to be putting it into the A tier. Next up, we have the OG Sinister. Now I remember this skin being a limited, and people didn't think limiteds were going to be as inflated as they are now. I'm actually not the hugest fan of Sinister, mainly because of how expensive it is to get it, and I would have liked it more if the Guesty head was invisible, if it was wearing Headless Horseman inside, but you can just see the Guesty head inside of it, which sort of ruins the vibe. Sinister is going to be joining the B tier.
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am.
Next up, we have Shadowversary. This skin I have once again really lovely memories with. It is insanely hard to get your hands on now, which sort of bumps it down a little bit. However, I remember spending 10,000 Robux on keys just to get Shadowversary, which I found really fun to do. I'm going to be putting it into the A tier. Next up, we have Easternal. Easternal, once again, a really nice skin. I've owned Easternal. It flies. It's really cool. However, I do think compared to the other godlies on this list, it would be a crime to put it anywhere higher than the C tier. This is probably my most controversial choice yet. However, I do think that is fair. Next up, we have Monochroma. This knife I've never owned, but I've seen. Monochroma is a pretty nice knife. I'm going to put it into the B tier mainly because of how hard it is to get, and I can't imagine it goes with many expensive godly. Next up we have Code Cake. Code Cake is better than Hack in a Box, however it definitely does not look that good in my opinion. I'm going to put it into the C tier. I do think Code Cake could have been much better. I do think it's just a tiny bit lackluster if I'm being honest. The whole Hack in a Box family just isn't that appealing in my opinion. Next up we have Sweet Ghost. This godly is so confusing. One month is doing really well, another month is doing really poorly. Sweet Ghost is just never consistent. However, values aside, look wise it's another green godly. However, I do think that it manages to pull it off relatively well. I'm gonna go ahead and put Sweet Ghost into the B tier once again. It could be in the border between A and B tier, however I do think B tier is the best place to put it in. Next up we have Nutcracker. And Nutcracker used to be the best skin limited godly for a little bit. It beat Sinister, it had a good spell. I do think Nutcracker is a really nice godly, and I am a fan of Nutcrackers in real life.
What do you mean by that?
So for that reason, I'm going to have to put it into the A tier. Next up, we have the one, the only Evil Ocorn. Now, a lot of people did not know Evil Ocorn even existed before I made my video on it, and that's because it's the most expensive knife godly, or it used to be. Evil Ocorn's value is super duper weird. I remember it losing like 14k value in one day, which is absolutely ludicrous. Thankfully, I managed to trade it off beforehand, but Evil Ocorn, or some people like to call it the emo knife, is probably the best knife godly on here if I'm just being real. Maybe contesting with Perisher. However, I do think Evil Ocorn is an obvious S tier. It's just a lovely knife, and if you ever have the chance to own this knife, I highly recommend it. Last but certainly not least, we have the Hard Candy. Hard Candy I haven't actually owned, but I've seen it before, and I do think that the color scheme is a really nice color scheme. It has a lot of potential, but I just don't see it being traded around as much, so I'm going to have to put it into the B tier. So yeah, this is my final rank. Let me just go ahead and read them out for you guys real quick. In the F tier we have Nighttime and Hack in a Box. In the C tier, Holy Night, Nap Time, Broken Hearts, Octopia, Lady Scarlet, Easternal, and Code Cake. In the B tier, we have Royal 2, Valentine's Jixio, Aquarius, Swarmed, New Year's Hope, Confetti Coco, Sugar Plum, Past Soldier, Sinister, Monochroma, Sweet Ghost, and Hard Candy. In the A tier, we have Tanky, Novicia, Gambit, Monster Chopper, Coco, Sinister, Shadowversary, Nutcracker. And in the S tier, we have Perisher, Blue Ant 2022, Specimen, Royal, Frontiersman, Last Time Papa, and Evil Ocorn. This is my Guesty limited crate rankings. Shout out to Sylarp for making this tier list. But yeah, that's all from me. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. ToxAura out.